Today I have a tutorial to show how to lay out a trifold using Adobe Illustrator. And the reason why I'm doing this tutorial is all the images and information online I found, it just has them divided up equally. And this is for a 8.5 by 11 letter format. So when I divide by 11 for a landscape layout, it's 3.6, and a lot of them say 3.67 evenly. And that's not really right, because when you print the trifold, the end flap is going to run into the center flap. So I'm just going to adjust it slightly so that it makes sense for printing. So I'm going to start with 8.5 by 11. I'm going to provide this template in the downloads, and I'm going to add bleed too. You can always take it off. So, and the way I roll this up is I'm just going to create a guide layer. I always like to create a guide layer because then I can just unlock the guides in the application and then lock them on the layer so I can get to them easier. I try to be consistent with my naming and my layers, setup, etc. Call this. And I usually make a background layer too. On my guides layer, I'm just going to make sure that these are not locked, which they're not. And then I'm going to drag a layer. And I usually also set up my margin. So using the align tool, I'll snap it to the edge of the page, and then just go in an increment of like 1/8 or a 1/2 inch. Usually I do 1/2 inch, that gives me more room. And then I'm just going to do this all the way around. And I'm just going to save this as my Illustrator template. And I'm just going to continue with my margin setup. And then the trifold. So I know that 11 divided by 3 is 3.6 to infinity. And so I'm going to set another guide, and I'm going to round it up to 3.69. So I'm going to move that to create my first fold, my second fold, and then you can see my third fold is almost 1/8. So this flap is slightly more narrow than the two initial flaps. So then I'm going to take this, make sure this is saved, and I'm going to save this as. This is the inside. And then I'm going to do a save as, and do outside. And then I'm just going to do the reverse. I'm going to delete these guides, the ones that I created. And I'm going to roll this, snap this guide to the edge of the paper, and then check that my keyboard increment is set to 3.69. And then I'm just going to move it the opposite way. And then you can see what I have left over there. Just delete it. So this is my outside template. I'm going to just save it. A lot of times I'll do like a crossover design or something where it's really handy if my graphics are vector to have templates set up in Illustrator, but also in InDesign. So I usually put my my final file in InDesign because of the print export options, etc. And I'm going to create a new document in InDesign. Orientation, landscape, no facing pages. Margins. I'm going to do the same as my Illustrator document. Bleed, the same. Create. And this first one will be just exactly the same as I did before. I'll say that's inside. So I'm going to line it up to the front, and I'm just going to do my keyboard increments. It's down here, units and increments. 3.69. Nope, I forgot. It only lets you do one, so I'm just going to use 1 inch and just 1, 2, 3, and then I'll do another one, 1, 2, 3, and then I'll just move these two over. 0.69. And then when I do one, I'm going to do 0.69, and then change this back to 1 just to check it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, it's exactly the same. Then I'm going to pull down another page, and I'll do my outside. I'm just going to name that. And I'll just start from this edge. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. .69. Okay, and then that end is just exactly what I would expect. So I'm gonna save this. I'm just gonna call it I'll just say Outline full type. I might rename this for the download, but that's what I'm just going to name it for now. And then speaking of crossover graphics and images, I'm going to create a template in Photoshop as well. I'm using Photoshop 2021, but just because I'm kind of a slow adopter, gives me little issues here and there when I just automatically download the latest version, so I tend to hold on to older versions before I upgrade. So I'm going to create new. I'm going to print letter landscape CMYK for print. Artboards. I'm going to lay this out as artboards. So this will be my artboard 1. I'll just name it inside trifold. I'll just roll it up here. I'll start from this edge. So I'm just going to do this manually. But as far as placement of images and things, it's helpful. I do this a lot. Okay, that's my guide. So that's my inside trifold. Oops. And then I'm going to duplicate this artboard and call it outside. Only this time I'm going to start from this edge here. And you can just delete these boxes when you're done with it. I'm gonna delete these frames now. And then I have that. And I have that. Then my Photoshop also is ruled up. So if I want to do images and things, raster images, whatever, if it's easier to work in Photoshop, I'll have my template there as well. And actually, one thing I didn't do, going back to InDesign, is I usually rule up a margin for the folds as well. I'll just do a 1/4 of an inch. I'm just holding down the Option key as I move the cursor. So that's my InDesign, and then I do the same in Illustrator. Save that. Save that. So that's really it. I have InDesign, out in, template, InDesign, trifold template, Illustrator, in two files, template for the trifold, and I have a Photoshop on 2 artboards template for a trifold. I hope you found this helpful. I will include the links in the description for your download. Please subscribe. Thank you for watching.